My name is Elena. I'm 35 years old, and I've always been the responsible one, not the loud one, not the beautiful one, not the one who turns heads at family dinners or gets tagged in every holiday photo. Just the steady one, the fixer, the one who holds things together quietly while everyone else moves on to the next spotlight. I never planned to talk about this, but something happened at my sister's wedding that I just can't seem to let go of. And I know. It wasn't just about that day. It was everything that came before it. Years of swallowing the little things just to keep the peace. My younger sister Sophie is 32. She's the type of woman people notice when she walks into a room. She's all designer smiles and high heels that never seem to wobble, even on gravel. She laughs loud, posts louder. She's built for attention, and she gets it. We've never been close, not really. Growing up, Sophie was the wild one. Impulsive, dramatic, magnetic. She'd break the rules, then bat her lashes and talk her way out of them. And when that didn't work, well, I was always there to take the blame. I can still hear Mom saying, Elena, she's younger. Set an example. Or worse, she didn't mean to. You know how Sophie is. I did know. And I still took the fall. There was the time she crashed our neighbor's bike and blamed me for leaving it unlocked. I apologized. There was the time she used my school ID to sneak into a senior party, got caught, and I was the one grounded. And when she got caught shoplifting at 19, eyeliner and a bottle of perfume from a boutique downtown, I was the one who picked her up from the station before our parents even found out. I covered the fine with my savings. They never even knew. I did all that not because I was a pushover. At least I didn't think so. But because I believed in keeping the family together. I thought staying silent meant staying strong, and maybe that's where I went wrong, because silence, it turns out, is easy to ignore. And over time, I became exactly that, the background, the quiet filler between Sophie's headlines. I work in event logistics, not glamorous, but stable. I coordinate high-end functions, manage vendor teams, and fix chaos when brides panic. 3 days before their big day. I've always liked putting things in order. Spreadsheets, timelines, people. Maybe because the rest of my life always felt so disorganized. When Sophie got engaged to Ryan, a guy she met at some influencer retreat in Napa, I congratulated her. Even helped her brainstorm venues and catering options. That's what I do, after all. I manage things. I didn't expect to be maid of honor. I wasn't delusional. But I thought, maybe, just maybe, I'd feel like a sister again. Like family. Like someone who mattered on her big day. But what happened next made it clear. I was never really invited as her sister. I was just another name on the guest list. The wedding was held at this dreamy countryside venue just outside the city. All draped string lights, floral arches, and photo ops every 10 feet. The kind of place built for Instagram, not intimacy. I arrived early, I always do, holding a carefully wrapped gift. A white porcelain tea set, custom engraved with their initials and wedding date. It wasn't flashy, but it was elegant. Meaningful. Something they could actually use. Something that would last. The check-in table was manned by a girl in a headset with a clipboard tucked under one arm. She barely looked up as I approached. Elena, right? I nodded. She scanned the list, her brow furrowing slightly. You're marked down as a +1? I blinked. Sorry? She gave a polite, tight-lipped smile. You're listed under +1s, so we've seated you near the kitchen entrance by the fold-out tables. I actually laughed, thinking, it had to be a mistake. I'm Sophie's sister. Her face froze. Oh, I didn't realize. Let me check. But before she could disappear into her earpiece, I heard stilettos clicking across polished wood. And there she was. Sophie. My sister. In her perfect white gown, veil flowing, lips painted the exact shade of expensive disinterest. Elena, she said, drawing out my name like it was an afterthought. So glad you could make it. I looked at her. They have me listed as a +1. She gave a light laugh, that half smirk she always used when she wanted you to feel like you were the one overreacting. Oh yeah, I told the planner. We had to make some space decisions, and Well, we only prioritize bridal party and immediate family for the main seating. I am immediate family. She waved it off. Not in the bridal party, though, and you came solo, right? It's just a chair near the kitchen. Nothing personal. Not in the bridal party. Nothing personal. Behind her, I saw the reception space. Crisp white linens, gold-trimmed glassware, name cards at every seat. Our cousin who once borrowed money and never paid it back had a seat dead center. Uncle Victor, who hadn't spoken to our family in 4 years, was sipping champagne by the sweetheart table. And then I saw him, Daniel, my ex. The one Sophie introduced me to at her college party 6 years ago. The one who texted her for advice after we broke up. The one she somehow kept in touch with. He was seated 2 tables from the front, laughing with a glass of Prosecco in hand. And there I was, invisible again. By design, Sophie must have seen where I was looking. Oh, yeah. We invited Daniel. He and Ryan stayed friends. He's always been so supportive. You don't mind, do you? I didn't respond. I just nodded. A slow, controlled nod, like my heart hadn't just taken a hit in the center of a perfect Pinterest wedding. They led me to the table. It was set awkwardly by a swinging service door. Every few seconds, waitstaff pushed through with trays of shrimp skewers and steamed vegetables, muttering apologies as they brushed past. The air was hot, thick with rosemary and garlic, and the smell of something slightly burnt. My seat wobbled every time someone passed behind it. The legs weren't even. I sat down and folded my napkin neatly in my lap. My gift had been taken from me at check-in and placed somewhere near a pile of unopened boxes in the corner. I watched as guests filtered in, clinking glasses, smiling for photos, hugging Sophie like she was royalty. I saw Daniel lean in and whisper something to her as they passed by. She laughed, too brightly. Something cracked inside me then, not loudly, not visibly, just enough to make me reach for my purse. I stood up, walked across the room, past clinking glasses, polished shoes, and fake smiles. Past Sophie. She turned just as I reached the table with the gifts. Wait, Elena, where are you going? I picked up my box, held it gently in both hands. Then I turned to her, my voice steady. Clear. +1 this. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't slam the gift or storm out. I just walked away. Slowly, calmly, purposefully. And somehow, that silence hit louder than any scene ever could. The cool evening air hit me the second I stepped outside, a relief after the heat and noise inside. The sky had just started to darken, soft gold fading into lavender. Fairy lights blinked along the gravel path behind me, still framing a wedding I was no longer part of. I didn't rush. I held the box carefully, like it mattered again. Like it was mine now. Every step I took away from that building, from the music and the champagne and the fake apologies, felt lighter, not painless, but cleaner, sharper. I'd almost reached my car when I heard the hurried footsteps behind me. Elena, wait up. I stopped. Ryan, his tux jacket was unbuttoned, bow tie askew, hair slightly ruffled. He looked out. Of breath, like sprinting after me was the hardest thing he'd done all night. What was that? He asked, breath catching. You just walked out. Come on, it's Sophie's wedding. I turned to face him, slowly, box still in my hands. You sat me by the kitchen. His face faltered. Okay, look, that wasn't meant to be personal. The seating chart was Sophie's call. I thought maybe you were helping with the vendors, or something. I didn't really look closely. She told the planner I was a +1, I said, voice low, even. She said it herself. He winced. It's just that the bridal party and close friends had to be up front. It was all a space thing, logistics. I let out a short laugh. You really want to talk logistics with me? His face fell. He knew. I'd helped them plan half this wedding. Venue, caterers, scheduling, and they'd still labeled me like I was someone's date. I'm sorry, he offered weakly. But sorry doesn't fix erasure. Sorry doesn't undo years of being overlooked, minimized, managed. I shook my head. You gave Daniel, my ex, A better seat than your own bride's sister. Ryan looked uncomfortable now, rubbing the back of his neck. He and I stayed friends, and Sophie thought, Sophie always thinks, I cut in, and everyone else just nods along, that silence that followed. It was different. Not awkward, not angry. It was the kind of silence that makes someone finally look at themselves. I'm not mad, I said quietly. I'm just done with all of it. He opened his mouth, closed it again. I turned, opened my car door, and gently placed the box on the passenger seat. As I slid behind the wheel, I saw him in my rearview mirror, standing in the gravel, jacket flapping, lips slightly parted like he still hadn't figured out what he was supposed to say, and maybe there wasn't anything left to say, because this wasn't about making a scene. This was about finally choosing myself. And for the first time in a very long time, I didn't feel guilty. For it, I didn't go straight home. Instead, I drove. No destination, just movement. Windows down, fingers loose on the steering wheel, the kind of slow, aimless drive you take when your body is full, but your chest is hollow. Eventually, I parked at a hilltop overlook just outside the city. From up there, the world looked small, lights flickering like pinpricks in a velvet blanket. For the first time in a long time, I let the silence speak louder than my thoughts. It wasn't just about the folding chair. It never was. It was years, decades of swallowing the disrespect, of playing the steady, invisible support beam while everyone else danced across the stage. And somewhere in that stillness, I made a decision. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to let go. And let them feel what happens when the quiet one finally steps away. The first thing I did when I got home was cancel the second half of their gift. The tea set I'd brought to the wedding was only part one. The full set included matching crystal dessert plates and gold-rimmed serving trays that were scheduled to be delivered to their apartment next week. I didn't just cancel the order, I redirected it, to me. Figured I might as well use them. After all, they were never going to notice the gesture. Not really. The next morning, I made a polite call to the catering company, the one I'd referred for their wedding, the one I'd personally vouched for after using them at multiple corporate events. Nancy, the manager, picked up. She greeted me warmly. Elena, you were a lifesaver. The wedding went off without a hitch thanks to your coordination. I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. Glad to hear it. I just wanted to give you a heads up. After how I was treated that day, I'll need to reevaluate referring your services in the future. It wasn't personal on your end, but I can't professionally support people who associate with clients who treat their own family like footnotes. There was a pause. Then she sighed. I'm so sorry. Honestly, you were the reason it worked at all. They underpaid the deposit and changed the guest list 3 times in the final week. If you hadn't helped with logistics, we would have walked. That was all I needed to hear. There were vulnerabilities, there were receipts, and I wasn't going to ignore that anymore. Next was the photographer, a friend of mine, someone I'd recommended after seeing her stunning work at a fashion event. She'd offered a steep friends and family discount to Sophie. I messaged her privately. Please don't use my name or referrals for Sophie or Ryan moving forward. It reflects poorly. She understood immediately. One by one, I started pulling the threads I had quietly sewn into their picture-perfect day. I wasn't malicious. I wasn't bitter. I was just done being useful to people who didn't see me. About a week later, it came. An email from Sophie. Subject line: Need help. I opened it, heart steady. They'd won a luxury honeymoon package, a 3-week escape to Bali, gifted by Ryan's aunt. But there had been a passport issue, a villa, mix-up, flights rescheduled. Things were unraveling. Sophie's message was short. Can you help us? You're good at this stuff. You always are. Please. No apology. No acknowledgement of what happened at the wedding. Just a quiet assumption that I'd show up. Again. I opened a reply draft. Typed. Unfortunately, this +1 doesn't take bookings anymore. Good luck. Then I stared at it for a moment. and deleted it. I didn't need to say anything. Instead, I forwarded their email to an old colleague of mine, Angela, who handles emergency travel for VIP clients. I didn't ask her to help them. I asked her to blacklist them. It was petty. I knew that. But it also felt right. Because after years of bending over backwards for a family that only called when things went wrong, I had finally chosen to stand, tall, and step away. And I wasn't looking back. It started with a single post. I hadn't planned to say anything publicly. But then I saw it, an album posted by my cousin Lila on Facebook, captioned, "Beautiful wedding, unforgettable night. So happy for Sophie and Ryan." 83 photos. In exactly one, you could see me, the blurry outline of my shoulder near the kitchen doors. I wasn't in the family portraits, not in the group toast videos, not even in the caption thanking everyone who made the day magical. But you know who was? Daniel, my ex, tagged, smiling, holding Sophie's veil while she posed, commenting heart emojis. It felt deliberate, not just bad planning, not just a seating chart oversight. It was erasure, polished and posted, and that's when I realized I wasn't going to be quiet anymore. So I made a post. Not dramatic, not angry, just facts. Photo 1. Me adjusting the florist's centerpiece before the ceremony. Photo 2. Helping the caterer sort guest table cards. Photo 3. A screenshot of the planner's seating chart, the one she'd accidentally emailed me, where my name was labeled +1, sister. I added a caption. Calm, precise. Helped plan the wedding. Found the venue. Vetted the vendors. Showed up early. Brought a customized gift. Was seated near the kitchen as a +1. Bride said I should understand. So I left quietly. 2 weeks later, they asked for help again. I declined. Apparently, that makes me petty. I posted it and put my phone down. I didn't expect much, but within hours, the comments started. Wait, what? You helped plan it and they sat you where? This is so typical of families who use the responsible sibling like a tool. You were there? I didn't even see you in the photos. This isn't petty. It's called boundaries. Even people I hadn't spoken to in years reached out. High school friends, old coworkers, mutuals from Sophie's influencer circle. One message from my cousin Lauren stood out. I knew something felt off that day. You looked so uncomfortable. I'm sorry. I wish I'd said something. I didn't reply to everyone, but I read every word, and for the first time in a long time, I felt seen. The next day, I got a text from Sophie. Hey, just saw your post. Can you take it down? This is making things complicated. You've made your point. No apology. No ownership, just damage control. I didn't respond. Instead, I made a second post. Been asked to delete my last post. Apparently, the truth is damaging to someone's image. I'd delete it. If it weren't 100% true, I won't be silenced for the sake of appearances. I've spent too many years making myself small for other people's comfort. Never again. No names, no hate, just honesty. That's the trick, you know? People can debate opinions, but they can't erase screenshots. That second post got even more traction. A friend sent me a screenshot of a company Slack announcement from Sophie's workplace. Reminder: personal conduct reflects professional character. Please maintain respectful behavior, both in and outside the workplace. They didn't tag her. They didn't have to. The damage was done. A few days later, my phone lit up with a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. It was Sophie's. Mom, I don't know what your issue is, but this has gone too far. You're ruining their reputation over a chair. One day you'll realize how childish this was. And that voicemail made me laugh because they still didn't get it. It was never about the chair. It was about every silent sacrifice. Every time I swallowed my hurt just to keep the family from crumbling. Every time I helped, supported, showed up, and was treated like I didn't belong. The chair was just the final straw, and the fallout had only just begun. You'd think the social fallout would have been enough, but the real consequences hadn't even started. Not yet. See, when Nancy, the catering manager, told me they'd underpaid their deposit and changed half the guest list days before the wedding, I didn't forget it. I filed it away, quietly, like I always do, because I knew that underpayment triggered something. A clause I'd seen before in contracts I'd helped design. It was simple, really. When a client provides inaccurate guest counts, changes dietary preferences after the final deadline, and fails to pay the remaining balance within 14 days, they're in breach of contract. And that breach comes with a 25% penalty. Nancy was tired. She'd done her job and more, all because I vouched for them. And now she was chasing payment like a debt collector. So she filed the complaint. The venue was next. They'd withheld Sophie and Ryan's security deposit after multiple late changes and extra cleanup costs, especially from the catering spill near the kitchen. The very kitchen where I'd been seated like a forgotten dish tray. Then came the bartender, also underpaid, also annoyed, also backed by a contract. Within days, they weren't just dealing with a ruined honeymoon and a viral family scandal. They were looking at over $7,000 in penalties, withheld deposits, and outstanding invoices. And all of it started with them cutting corners and cutting me out. What they didn't realize is that I'd spent years building quiet loyalty with the people who made their wedding function: vendors, coordinators, service staff. And when they treated me like a replaceable extra, they unknowingly fractured every connection they depended on. They had no idea how much weight I'd been holding up behind the scenes. But now they felt every missing support beam. Sophie didn't. Call again. But Ryan did. Voicemail. Tight voice. Strained. I don't know what's happening with the vendors. No one's replying. The venue's threatening legal action. We just wanted our wedding to go smoothly. You didn't have to take it this far. I didn't reply, because I hadn't taken it far. They had. All I did was step aside and let the structure collapse without me. It wasn't vengeance, it was the simple, brutal truth. When you build a foundation on someone else's silence, you should never be surprised when it caves in the moment they stop holding it up. 2 weeks after the fallout, I got a letter in the mail, not a text, not an email. An actual cream-colored envelope, thick, no return address, my name handwritten in careful cursive. It was smudged slightly at the corner, like someone had held it for a while before letting it go. Inside was a note, no signature flourish. No calligraphy, just a folded sheet of lined paper written in black ink. Elena, I've been thinking a lot about everything that happened. I didn't see it then, but I see it now. I let Sophie call the shots because I thought keeping the peace was more important than standing up for you. I was wrong. You've always shown up for this family. For me. And I made you feel invisible at the most important moment of my life. I don't expect forgiveness, but I wanted to say thank you for everything you did, and I'm sorry for everything I didn't. Ryan. That was it. No excuses, no finger pointing. Just a clean acknowledgement of failure. I sat at my desk and read it twice. Then I tucked it under a small glass paperweight. I didn't reply. Not because I was angry, but because I finally understood something. This wasn't just about the wedding. It wasn't even just about that chair. This was about years, decades, really, of being the one who stayed quiet. The one who picked up the pieces. The one who didn't ask for much and got even less in return. And now, for the first time, the silence I held wasn't guilt. It wasn't bitterness. It was clarity. I wasn't going to respond just because someone finally noticed the weight I'd been carrying. I was going to decide what kind of relationship if any, I wanted from here on. Not just with Sophie, but with everyone who stood by and watched me be erased and said nothing. Thanksgiving came quicker than I expected. My mother called the week before. She sounded rehearsed, like she'd practiced the conversation in her head a dozen times. Elena, it would mean a lot if you came this year. No drama, I promise. I said yes, not out of guilt, not to avoid more silence, but because I'd finally learned something. Peace doesn't come from avoidance. It comes from speaking your truth and standing still when it makes the room uncomfortable. I arrived that afternoon with a bottle of wine in hand and no expectations. The house smelled like cinnamon and butter and all the things that used to feel warm. This time it just felt muted. My aunt offered a brief smile. My cousin nodded stiffly. People glanced at me, then away, like I was the center of a conversation they'd all already had. Ryan was there. Of course, Sophie wasn't, my mom whispered. Later, she had other plans this year. Translation, she couldn't face the people who'd read my posts and seen her clearly for the first time. Dinner was quieter than usual. The usual loud jokes and overlapping chatter were replaced by cautious sentences and too many clinks of cutlery. Ryan sat 2 seats away, mostly picking at his food, laughing too hard at jokes that weren't funny. He kept glancing at me, like he was waiting for a sign, a nod, a smile, something that meant everything could go back to normal. I didn't give it to him. After dessert, while people drifted into the living room and football murmured softly from the TV, he found me in the kitchen. We were alone. "Thanks for coming," he said quietly. I nodded. "Thanks for the letter." He looked relieved, like that was the icebreaker he needed. "I meant what I said," he added. "I was a fool. I let things get way out of hand." I studied him for a second. Then I said, "You did." I wasn't going to sugarcoat it. He needed to hear it aloud. He winced, but didn't argue. "I thought maybe we could get back to normal." I stared at him. "What does that even mean, Ryan?" He looked confused. I continued, "Because for me, normal was being your backup plan. It was being the one you called when you needed to fix something, but not when you wanted to celebrate anything. It was being the only sibling seated behind. A swinging kitchen door on your wedding day," he nodded slowly. "I know. I don't want it to be like that anymore." "You can want that," I said, "but you have to earn it." He looked up. "I'm not handing out second chances like napkins. You don't get to erase years of disrespect with a letter. You show up. You take accountability. Consistently. And you stop expecting me to carry your weight while you pretend I'm not even in the room." He didn't speak right away. But this time, he didn't deflect. He didn't make excuses. He just nodded. "Okay, I can do that." And for once, he didn't try to hug me, he didn't crack a joke. He let the silence hang in the air, the weight of it, the truth of it. It was progress, small, imperfect, but real. The months that followed were different. Ryan didn't try to force things. No guilt trips, no frantic apologies, just effort. It started small, a text here and there, not asking for help, not needing anything, just checking in. "Hey, how's work? Just thinking of you today." Then one Saturday morning, he showed up at my door with 2 coffees and a brown paper bag. "Croissants," he said, holding it up. "No reason. Just figured we could hang." We didn't talk about the wedding. We didn't talk about Sophie. We just sat on the couch, watched a game, and laughed at a stupid ad with dancing insurance agents. It wasn't a fairy tale reconciliation. I didn't suddenly trust him with everything. But something had shifted, and for the first time in years, I allowed myself to meet him halfway. Sophie, though, never reached out. I heard through the grapevine that things between them had been tense since the honeymoon disaster. That she'd lost a few key brand partners after the post-fallout. That her workplace had cooled toward her. Eventually, they announced they were taking space. Not officially separated, just re-evaluating. I wasn't surprised, because when you treat people like props in your perfect story, eventually they stop playing along. A few months later, Ryan invited me to a small backyard cookout for his birthday. No caterers, no event planners, just plastic chairs, burgers, and a cooler of drinks. He handed me the tongs and grinned. "You're on grill duty," he said. "Tradition, right?" And in that moment, I saw it. Not the man who'd overlooked me, but the brother trying, really trying, to rebuild the bridge he once ignored. Later that evening, as the sun dipped low and people lingered under string lights, he raised his drink and said, "To Elena, for showing me what a real sibling looks like, even when I didn't deserve it." I didn't make a speech. I just tapped my bottle against his and said, "Took you long enough." Everyone laughed, and in that laughter, something settled. Forgiveness, I realized, isn't about pretending the past didn't happen. It's about deciding who's worth giving the future to. That night, when I got home, I poured myself a cup of tea from the wedding set I'd once planned to give them. It didn't feel like a painful reminder anymore. It was just glass, beautiful, solid, and finally being used the way it was meant to be. If you've ever felt like the quiet one in the background, the one who held everything together while others took the spotlight, I'd love to hear your story. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more powerful stories. From Revenge Bloom.